Hello and welcome to another Tech Campus Coffee Live webinar. This is an opportunity for you to learn about career paths at Tech directly from professionals in your field.
We'll be speaking to technical representatives from a variety of fields at Tech, and they'll share why they enjoy what they do.
Participants also have a chance to directly ask speakers and recruiters questions and get a good understanding of why Tech is a great place to work, as well as where your strengths, talents, and learning opportunities lie.
All right, so what we'll do, we'll start with Eduardo, and maybe Eduardo, if you could turn your mic on and maybe just do a brief intro of yourself, your time at Tech, and what your job is here.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Eduardo Núñez. I'm a Chief Process Control Engineer for Tech and specifically at Highland Valley Copper. And basically what I have been here for about 12 years on site. And as you can tell from my accent and all that, I'm from South America, I'm from Peru. And it has been a great opportunity for me to be here. And basically what I do is our mantra as a group is we try to do operational excellence in real time. What that means is that we try to get the process to the best optimum point in real time, to whatever conditions we have, orders we have, where in the parts that we might have, and all that. We're always trying to run to the optimum level. And we do that because by doing that, we believe that a process that is running at the optimum is typically running at safer for people and for equipment. It's also more environmental friendly, better use of energy, waters, resources basically, and then that produces a good economic value for us, right? So then that's basically what we do. And the other thing that we do is we work basically from the basic process, like trying to understand the process, the instrumentation, the networkings, the servers, the industrial computers like the PLCs, the HMIs, collect data, big data, do then basic control, advanced control, use tools like analytics and machine learning and AI and all those tools to try to optimize the process. But we start basically with that, working with the fundamentals, with the basic process, working with people, and then try to get it to the more advanced. And that's about it.
That sounds pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. All right, and then I'm gonna just, if you could put up Aiden's slide, I'll pass it over to Aiden. So Aiden works at our Sparwood office here. Maybe Aiden, if you could do the same, if you could do an intro of yourself and your time at Tech and what you do here.
Yeah, you betcha. So my name's Aiden Sim. I'm an automation specialist for the OT processing group. My group kind of sits in a fun place. So I don't actually sit at one specific site. I support the sites at an enterprise level. So it means I get to see some pretty interesting and cool stuff across Tech. It also means I get to work with wonderful people like Eduardo and all sorts of operations people. So we support fixed assets. So what that is it's like your PLCs, it's your networks, it's a lot of the technology that holds all of the systems that we use. It holds them all together. So we support those processes. We also get to be involved in some pretty cool projects. As Eduardo mentioned, Tech is moving heavily towards a data-driven future. So a lot of that is, how do we set up pipelines to use this data? How do we get, data at the IO level into our PLCs? How do we use this data? How do we make sure that 10 years from now, people are still going to be able to see this data? So there's a lot of cool things that we get to do in our group, primarily focused around, the digital systems. But I know in our team, we've got a suite of people who work for us. We have electricians that work on our teams. We have people from a computer science background. We've got we work a lot with geologists, funny enough, who their computer systems also need attention. Environmental systems. There's just really a whole suite of stuff that we get to see. But if I had to sort of summarize what I like about Tech, I think it's the locations and the people we get to work with are probably the two highlights there. In that video, we saw some pretty impressive nature. I live in the Elk Valley. That's what sort of drove me to work with Tech. I love mountain biking, fishing, all the stuff that gets you outside, and working at Tech here, especially in the Elk Valley. I mean, you can get outside every day. It's not too hard. So
awesome.
I'll leave it at that.
Thanks. That's great, Aiden. That's really great. We've got a couple of questions popping up. And maybe what I'll do, I know Laura was going to say that we could probably loop you in a little bit later, but considering one of the questions is a little bit about co-op, what I'll do, I'll ask Aiden and Eduardo, and then I'll pass it over to you for a little bit of comment on you. But someone's asked here if they want to know the responsibilities of a co-op. and what that looks like on your team. So I don't know if you both have co-ops. I know that we have, Aiden, for your team quite a bit. Eduardo, do you have co-ops on your team? And maybe you could speak to a little bit about even new graduate or co-op. What kind of work are they getting involved in?
Aiden, you want to go first, or?
Yeah, sure. So Laura is actually a co-op for our team. And we have, I would say that maybe our co-op experiences sort of differ a little bit. There's sort of two paths in our team. We do a lot of stuff on the automation side. So maybe more of, an electrical engineering focus versus maybe something like Laura, who's focusing a lot on the networking side. So maybe on the automation side, I could speak to that a little bit. Some of the co-ops in the past, they've been responsible for, if we have a big project going on, they might be responsible for going out into the plant and checking that the drawings that were produced actually match what's out in the field. Maybe at Line Creek they just got a nice fancy laser engraving tool that we have a co-op student here. He's setting that up. He's creating work procedures for the electricians to cut and customize their own cable tags and Lamacoids. So it's really a bag full of stuff depending on where you go and what's going on. But certainly anytime you're in the plant, you're always going to be supervised. We've got a lot of great people there who make sure that you stay safe. But from a responsibilities level, I mean, it's kind of as much as you want to take on and as much as you're comfortable taking on is really, I think, how we can dictate that. I don't know, Laura, do you maybe have a comment on what it's like on the networking side there? What's it like being a co-op for us?
Hey, yeah, so this is my second term with tech, and I found each time so far has been different. Both you get real work, which I really like, versus like working at other companies. I found you just kind of like would sit there and not really learn anything. So I found it's really nice for actual experience and kind of doing real work. My day-to-day last term, I did a lot of like security patches. I did a little front-end programming, some SQL reports, and then I actually went into the mine and did some networking stuff in the mine as well. So like programming switches, working with the HMIs there. And so this term, I'm actually not in the Elk Valley, so I'm working out of Calgary. I'm completely remote. So far I've like automated some tasks. I've done a bunch of SQL stuff, some database stuff. And then just some proactive monitoring stuff. Like I've only been here for a month now, so.
Just getting back into the swing of things. No, that's great, Laura. Thanks for that. And yeah, Eduardo, maybe what I'll do is I know that there's been a couple of questions here popping in here, so I'm going to try and keep up with them. So bear with me as I sort of quickly read. But someone's also asked about new grads, so maybe you could highlight that side. We've talked a little bit about co-op. If you want to add 2 cents there, or maybe if you could speak to maybe a new grad type role in your.
Yeah, I'll start with the co-op. So basically, what we do is we typically get co-ops for a 4 or 8 months period. And what we try to do is try to focus in some kind of project that is going to be valuable for us and it's going to be also valuable for the co-op student. Like things, for instance, that we have done is stockpiles that we put a bunch of sensors on that, and then we try to map the height of the pile, so then we can try to estimate what is the optimum size of the pile that we need to run, so then we can balance the feed from the mine to the mill and things like that. Or for instance, the other one that we did last time is we were doing history and collecting big data, and then using all the tools, trying to understand what is the greatest and latest, and then try to coach the operators and the other engineers and other people to use those tools and developing manuals and all that. So that's the kind of work that we do with them. What we focus is to make sure that there is something that is valuable for the site, but it's also valuable for the co-op student at the end of the term. So then when you go back to school, you have a good experience and all that. And then and also creating a good experience. So then in the event that then when you graduate, you have a chance, like you consider us to be part of your future life, professional life. So then that's what we would like to do. What was the second question?
Oh, that's okay. It's about new graduate opportunities. I think it'd probably be one and the same, but maybe building on that same. But maybe if you could speak to a new grad engineer.
Yeah. So the idea is like we're building now as we're building more digital and all this digital transformation as a tech. I think what we're doing is basically we have been establishing a solid team, and now we're basically trying to develop our own individual team, growing our own people. So then that's where the new graduates, I think, are going to come more and more, and you're going to see probably that in the future opportunities that tech is going to have to the market. And I think it's going to grow. Like, I think what the focus has been basically creating the solid team, and now it's going to be growing. So then even in our group, the process control group at HVC, once we have a team that is established, now we're looking at more co-ops and more graduate people to see that they can grow with us in the future for process control.
Okay. And Eduardo, maybe while you're chatting about that, can you speak to, I guess, what's the ideal discipline that you're looking at to fill in your role? Are you looking for like software engineers? Are you electrical engineers, process control engineers? What's the ideal, or what do you hire more of, or do you see more coming through?
Well, the ideal is that we have people that have a solid foundation in process control, because for us it's very difficult to teach the basic theory about process control if the student through the co-op experiences and all that has some process experience. That is great too, because then the process, even if the person doesn't have the process, we can teach that here because you're always immersed in the process. So it's easier for us to teach. But the other thing that is important is, as a control engineers or in automation, we have to influence without authority. That means that we need to work with people that actually don't report to you and you don't have that authority. So people have to do things because they want to do it and have that soft skills to be able to convince people that they need to do something, not because you are telling them to do it, but because they want to do it. It's a great skill to have. So don't only focus on the technical, only on the tools. It's also how you transmit, how you convince people to do things. How do you share your knowledge? Even if it's a little knowledge, try to share it to the point that then other people can be attracted to that.
Yeah, no, that's key, I think, and I always tell people that too. It's nice to hear that both from both of you guys that, a lot of these co-op terms, even new graduate opportunities, you get in there, you kind of make it your own. You get to, it's a quite a varied experience you're going to come out of it with, and there's a combination of your hard skills, your technical skills, as well as that soft skills, because we work hand in hand with operations on a daily basis, right? Aiden, maybe I'll ask you the same. If I know I saw you're nodding when Eduardo was talking about different disciplines. Is there anything else that you tend to look for in your area?
Well, I very much agree with the solid foundation. For a bit of backstory, and I would encourage as many of you guys to do the same. When I was in high school going through university, I actually opted to start out in trades. I felt that a lot of foundational, you can really excel as an engineer if you take the time to learn foundational knowledge. So where I think we're trying to do a lot of very advanced things, but trying to do some of the advanced processes, like as Eduardo was talking, applying AI to our plants, you can't do any of that unless you really understand the foundations. So, really, maybe not such a skill set, but I always get really excited when I have a co-op student who comes in and really asks a lot of questions about those types of foundations. How does a control valve actually work? What types of control valves modulate flow best? And just really sort of maybe trying to understand the fundamentals of process control, and having an inquisitive mind is something that is really special to have with a co-op. Really sets you up for success.
For sure. And yeah, and you've hired a bit of a mixed bag on your team. I know, like, we've got like computer science, we've got process control engineers. So it can be a variety of backgrounds, I guess. And just speaking to who's on the call today, they're probably wondering, like, well, can I qualify for this job if they're excited about it? And it can be, like you say, just as long as they have that interest and they have a little bit of a background, they could potentially look to move in this direction.
100%. I mean, it's really the soft skills are the ones that are hard to teach, and the soft skills are ones that are really hard to put on paper as much. Technical skills at Tech, we've got lots of people who can teach you. If you're keen about a position but recognize that maybe you don't have some of the technical qualifications, learn.
Yeah, no, it is, and we do have some. We've had co-ops for a long time, so we know what it means to support a co-op or a new graduate in the role, so that they can make sure they know who's to talk to for certain questions. So that's always makes it really valuable as a student to have those resources at their fingertips, right? Okay, I want to make sure we get through some of these questions. So sorry, I'll try and stop yammering on here. So we've got somebody who's got a specific question for you, Eduardo, and it's about do you employ continuous process monitoring, such as alarm monitoring and analytics? I know you highlighted a little bit about the analytics side for sure. Can you speak to that one?
Yes, we do. that. So basically, as first of all, when we do everything that we do, we like in this digital world, we need to have eyes into the process, and that is basically having sensors. So being able to measure what is happening with the process and being able to act on that. So measuring the process will be the levels, the pressures, the densities, and all that. Being able to act on the process, the pumps, the valves, and all that. And then by that, then we can start doing some monitoring first, then also being able to learn that, but not only to do that, being also able to act. So then first we measure, then we can control, and if we can control, we can optimize. So then it's not only stops at the alarming and the analytics, it's actually how can real time we can move that process to the optimum level by reducing variability and pushing to the limits. So that's our day in and a day out. That's what we do all the time.
Awesome. That's great. All right. And Darius has his hand up here. Darius, do you have a question for us?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I think my question would be focused at Eduardo there. Could you give an example of a process or a system that was recently improved in terms of its automatability, and kind of give us a walkthrough of how that went?
Okay. Yes, I can do that. Can I share my screen? Is that okay? Is it
Sure.
allowed in these sessions? Okay, I'll take the risk. This is out of
no confidential stuff. That's all.
yeah, no, this actually has been published before, and it has been actually, we published this in the last CIM that we had here in BC. You guys can see that there. That's hopefully you can see it. So this is public already. So this is one of our grinding systems. What you see here is basically we put rocks here, and then this turns, and when it turns, it starts making that to sand to liberate between the gang, the earth, and actually the copper and the moly. So what you're going to see here, and hopefully I can answer your questions here. So this is the same mill that we have in the mill in the middle, and this is a vibration sensor. So this vibration sensor is rotating with the mill. So imagine that we have this lap mill. We cannot see this, but this is simulating what we have here. And if you see that mill is rotating, it's creating some kind of vibration. We cannot see this, but as we are using this lap mill, we can see that the rocks are crashing here, and then when you have the minerals here, basically you're producing that sand. So then we're liberating the copper and the moly and all that. We can see that basically the rocks are impacting there. We can see that there is kind of material that is moving here. So we cannot see any of that. But what we can put is this vibration sensors that we have here, and we can see the vibration profile in the mill. And with that vibration profile, we can start estimating where we're impacting in the mill, where we are basically where the material is in the mill. And I'm just going to stop sharing here. And this is one of the last projects that we did. And basically what we did is with all this information, having been able to measure this, now we can control and we can start optimizing. So this is kind of the examples that we do on site. So basically measuring the process, try to reduce the variability and then push it to the limits to try to find that optimum point of operation. And we try to do that in real time. Did I answer your question, Darius?
Wonderful. That was a great example. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Darius. Awesome. All right. And yeah, keep them coming. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to put your hand up or type them in the chat. But I got a pocket full for sure that I can share. And I guess I'm curious, and maybe Aidan, I'll toss this one over to you. I guess why did you choose mining out of all the different disciplines? You know, you said you started a little bit in the trades and then you went into the technical side. What drew you to mining?
Well, I don't know if tech is really a mining company. I'd argue and say that we're a technology company.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
so I think mining is an incredibly promising field right now. I think with what we're seeing with renewables, with a lot of these pushes for these new environments, I think we're going to need to mine a lot of material in the next few years. So it's probably a pretty good industry to get into, but it's not really why I got into it. I got into it with tech, one, for the location where I get to live, and two, tech does some really cool things. There's lots of technologies that are sort of are groundbreaking in the coal making sphere for sure. I know what we're doing with some of the advanced analytics and some of the APC control hasn't really been done in coal manufacturing before. So there's certainly struggles there. We're having there's a lot of learning curves and a lot of things that we're really having to come back to. But the technology was what drove me to, I guess, come to mining and to come to tech, was because I saw the cool things that we were doing and I wanted to be a part of it.
Awesome. That's great. How about you, Eduardo? What drew you into tech, into mining in particular?
Well, mining is basically my parents used to work in mining. So
Okay.
I have been already related to this industry for a while, but I think why process control in mining is because as we were sharing supper and things like that, like I noticed that a lot of things were repetitive. And then when things are repetitive, we can automate them. So that was what attracted me a little bit more being from Peru. Peru is basically is a country that depends a lot of mining. And the other thing, why process control, is because in order to have this meeting, in order for me to see me and you, for me to see you and you see me, and then having all this conversation and all that, we need minerals, we need copper, and then all these tools are basically based on all these minerals that we have. So then I believe by trying to making the process more optimum, I think actually we're doing my part in being more environmental friendly and making actually this a resource that is only goes past from this plant one time, right? If we don't do it right the first time, basically we miss the opportunity. So I think there's a lot of opportunities on that, and I think tech is making all the efforts to make it happen. Also, tech has had a lot of opportunities for me. I believe it's not huge mining companies, not a small mining companies, the right size to kind of evolve in this kind of situations. So I think that has been a great opportunity, especially for me, and I'll highly recommend to join us.
Awesome. That's great. And Laura, I know that we got you to talk once, but maybe I'll just throw it over to you, because I think as a current student, it's nice to get a sort of a finger on the pulse in terms of, I guess, what brought you into mining? I know you come from a computer science background. Why did you choose us?
So like Eduardo, actually my dad used to work in a mine. So I worked in a plant when I was like 18. So I did the labor side and then I moved to Fernie. I wanted to move to Fernie and I was in computer science and I started it, and then I liked it a lot more than I thought I would, to be honest. So now I'm here again for my second year. So, and I'm hoping I can get on full time later. So hopefully live in Fernie full time.
Awesome. No, it's funny. I sort of joke, I'm like, oh, if you keep coming back for more, then you must have liked it the first time. So that's always a good sign. And obviously, we were super happy with the experience you had your first go around. So it's really neat to have you back. And yeah, you just highlighted something there that's always nice for people to understand about our co-op. You don't have to have been a co-op to get a full-time job with tech, but boy, it certainly gives you a great leg up and and it just gives you an opportunity to really try, for both sides, try before you buy, I guess, is sort of the line that I joke about. It gives you a chance to really understand how exciting, how interesting mining is. I mean, we can all talk about it till we're blue in the face, but it's nice for someone to come in as a co-op, really get an understanding for the diversity and the interesting roles that we allow for our students. And then obviously this is a great opportunity to make an impression with the company so that you potentially could move into something full-time. So certainly for us, it helps us build a talent pool for future opportunities. So Laura's certainly highlighted that there, and that's the goal, right? I mean, we're not I'd love to say it's a selfless, we just want students to get this amazing experience, and we do, but we're also looking at, hey, who is going to be really successful and be able to come back for a full-time opportunity, and especially in a space like process control systems, where it is a unique area. It's not like you have a degree that's exactly that always. So people can come from different backgrounds, and it's a really neat growth opportunity within the company, and then for someone to get into an area that maybe they hadn't initially thought about, right? So yeah, great. All right. I guess other quick one. I know, Eduardo, you had highlighted a really cool work that you've been doing there, but maybe Aiden, if you could, do you want to highlight an area that, like a project that you're excited about, something you feel like is really going to make a big impact to operations moving forward? Is there any one particular project that you're working on now that you want to share?
Yeah, for sure. As soon as I can find my unmute button there. Yeah, actually, one project I've been sort of standing up over the course of about 8 months is we have about 18 of these nuclear sourced analyzers across the valley. So basically, what this is it's a radioactive source that we use to determine properties about our coal, and I believe we have one out in Highland Valley that does a couple different things. But basically, none of these sensors worked. And so what we had to do is we came in and we had to find an approach that, one, we could work with operations. There was a technical element there that we had to solve first, which was what is broken with this machine and how can we fix it. But the interesting part kind of came afterwards, when we had to figure out how do we sustain it. So we fixed this asset, and then we have to build dashboards around, how do you actually monitor it? How do you respond to the incidents that happen to it? When it breaks, who do you call? And so a lot of it was setting up the workflow for allowing 100% utilization of these assets. And these assets are, really important devices that allow us to roll out future. I feel like I've been talking a lot about advanced analytics and APC, but that's kind of where I'm really going with my focus is right now. So these devices support that, and that was cool. So what I was able to do was stand up a workflow for some fixed assets, which, by the way, I think they're not cheap. They're like $500,000 a pop. So if you have 18 of these things that don't work, I mean, you can do the math there pretty quickly. It's a pretty important problem to solve. But it was cool just being able to develop that process and being in a position where you got to work with so many different groups. Was sort of the cool thing for me. I got to work with the ServiceNow team. I got to work with operations. I got to work with a lot of the people who are creating these dashboards for me. So getting to work with a lot of cool people was part of the highlight of that project for sure.
Awesome. That's great. No, thanks for sharing. Okay. And someone's asked a little bit about pursuing their master's in mechanical engineering. They want to know about the job opportunities at Tech. So I can speak to a little bit about the recruiting front, and I just want to make sure I can deal with all the technical. I'm not missing anything. Am I, Misaki? Have you seen anything that I'm missing
you're on
there?
top of it.
All right. Okay. I'll jump into a little bit about the recruitment space. And then if you guys want to pitch in and talk a little bit about it, we do hire a variety of different students. So everything from undergraduate who are on a co-op, people are taking a break from their academic term. And I say that because we generally focus on 8 to 12-month opportunities for these student positions. And then obviously new graduates, a whole other beast as well. But we do hire master's students. And again, like I highlighted, we do have a bit of a mixed bag, and it depends on the role. So obviously we've spoken a little bit about the different disciplines within process control systems. We also have a huge variety of other roles as well, whether it's in the digital system space or that technology and innovation space, I guess, or also in like core, if you will, core mechanical, mining, all those different areas. So for anybody on the call who has maybe a discipline that's a little bit different than what we're speaking to today, we literally have a posting for almost everybody. Every engineering discipline you could pretty much cover there. And so, yeah, there's lots of job opportunities. One thing I suggest often to students is that if you're looking for a full-time role, so co-op gets posted 4 months in advance. And like I say, they're generally 8 or 12 months in duration. So we have our postings up right now. We're recruiting for September. Those will come down the next little bit. You'll see a repost here in the next few weeks just to make sure we get some fresh applications and keep them moving. And then that'll be for hiring for September. In September, we post for January for May. So every 4 months, we have an intake of students that are coming into the business and joining us. From a full-time perspective, I would suggest we kind of hire new graduates on an ongoing as needed basis. So whatever team you're looking for. So we don't often follow the academic schedule, I guess is what I'm getting at. So we don't have just an intake in May or an intake in January. It's pretty much ongoing. So what I would suggest for someone who's looking for a full-time role is set yourself up for job alerts on the Tech website, and you can do that. And then basically everything that says, say, mechanical engineering, for example, that they're requiring that as for that job, you can set yourself for a job alert, and you'll get pinged every time a job is posted that's requiring a mechanical engineering degree, say, for example. And so that's really helpful to wade through we have a lot, and literally every day we're posting new jobs. So I can't speak enough on the volume that's coming through, and it's because mining is doing well right now, and we are pushing forward lots of projects. We have there's a lot happening right now, so the recruitment is definitely heavy. So certainly that helps you wade through the variety of roles that are up there. And then otherwise, I guess the other warning I always tell people, I know we're going to jump to trivia, Misaki, but is just being mindful that sometimes the jobs that we have posted on our website may not be called exactly like, I'm a mechanical engineer, it must say mechanical engineering graduate. It could be called something else, or like you say, it could be process control system position, and then they might say they'd be open to a mechanical job. So I would just say maybe do your homework, set yourself up for alerts, really look into different jobs that might have different titles, because it might be very mining specific or even tech specific. We tend to see quite a bit of. So just be mindful of that when you're sort of wading through the job openings that we do have. All right, and then yeah, maybe I'll just do my last pitch for co-op, and then see if there's any. I think Darius had a question too, but yeah, just so you know, like I mentioned at the very beginning, for those of you who weren't there, postings are up right now. They'll see some ongoing over the next coming weeks as well. So keep your eyes peeled on Tech website. We also do highlight sort of Canvas through the co-op offices at campus as well, but certainly your best resource is probably quick to the Tech website, and you'll see any current postings that we have up right now for co-op, and that'll be, now we're currently recruiting for September. I don't know if Darius is still on the line. Darius, if you're there and you still have a question, I want to make sure you get your other question answered. Is he still here? No, he's gone. Okay. All right. Yeah, and then I guess in terms of numbers wise, yeah, we're probably anticipating at least 50, 60 co-ops to be hired across the business for the upcoming September term. So like I mentioned before, a good variety of roles across the different various disciplines. So certainly there's a little bit for everybody, and you certainly can get some great experience if you were to come on board with us. I think that's it for me, Masaki.
Yeah, so for those of you joining, thanks for joining. One thing I do want to mention is our goal is to provide value to students, and I hope you learned something today. I hope you learn a bit more about the industry, learn a bit more about tech, and hopefully a little more curious about exploring opportunities with tech. Now, these sessions we sort of create are based off of feedback from students, and so you can see in the chat, if you have access to that, Tiffany's just posted a link to a feedback form. And so our goal is to put together other campus coffee in the future that students are interested in participating in. So if there's a particular topic that you would like us to present on, or certain guest speakers to bring in front of you, it's a good opportunity to get it out there, so that we do create that for you this fall. So we're looking to create about 6 more in September, October, and then maybe another 6 more in January, February of next year. So yeah, I think that's about it. Last call for questions. Otherwise, can call it a day. Go for lunch.
I was going to mention, Masaki, on that feedback survey, does it ask a little bit about any additional, like give them opportunity to ask any additional or offer any additional advice? And only thing that I think would be nice for us to know on that would be if there's like right now we've been doing it midday, and we sort of started this through the pandemic, but we'd be looking for suggestions on time of day that might work moving forward, say in the fall when classes are full in session and people are in classes, if you would prefer it in the evening, or should we continue with the midday sort of time slot? So anyway, if there's any idea, if you could have some thoughts on that, feel free to put that in the survey as well. I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, there's a spot for general feedback, but we can add that to a question for the next feedback form for next week. But yeah, much appreciated. Great. Well, Aidan and Eduardo and Laura, thank you for supporting our event. I know I learned a bunch. So yeah, thank you everybody for attending, and yeah, have a great summer, everybody.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
team. Thanks everybody for attending.